What happens when Hollywood royalty sits down for what should be a simple late-night interview, but instead gets ambushed by a host drunk on his own power? It only took 36 seconds of Stephen Colbert's opening question to turn Sylvester Stallone from gracious guest into a man ready to walk off set forever. Before we dive into this absolute car crash of television history, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me what you think really happened here. Because what you're about to hear will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about late-night television. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert was supposed to be appointment television that night. Sylvester Stallone, the man who gave us Rocky and Rambo, was making a rare appearance to promote his latest project. The audience was packed, the cameras were rolling, and everything seemed perfect for what should have been a standard celebrity interview. But from the moment Stallone walked onto that stage, something felt different. The handshake lasted a fraction too long. Colbert's smile seemed forced, almost predatory. And when they sat down, the temperature in that studio somehow managed to drop 10 degrees. Colbert leaned back in his chair with that signature smirk of his and said, "So Sly, let me ask you something that I think America really wants to know." The way he said it, with that particular emphasis on the word really, should have been Stallone's first warning that this wasn't going to be the friendly chat he'd signed up for. Stallone, ever the professional, nodded politely and said, "Sure, Stephen, fire away." He was relaxed, confident, probably thinking this would be the usual softball questions about his workout routine or his favorite Rocky movie. How wrong he was about to be. Colbert's next words cut through the studio like a knife. "Your career peaked in the 70s, didn't it? I mean, when was the last time you made a movie that anyone actually cared about?" The audience went silent. You could hear a pin drop in that massive studio. Stallone's face changed immediately. The friendly smile disappeared, replaced by something much harder, much more dangerous. This wasn't just a tough question. This was a deliberate insult, delivered with surgical precision right out of the gate. "Excuse me?" Stallone said, his voice dropping to that gravelly tone that made him famous. "Are you serious right now?" Colbert doubled down, that smug expression never leaving his face. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking, Sly. The Expendables movies, the recent Rocky sequels, they're all just cash grabs, aren't they? You're basically living off nostalgia at this point." The camera caught everything. Stallone's jaw tightening, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. The way his whole body language shifted from relaxed guest to coiled spring in the span of 5 seconds. This was a man who had built an empire playing tough guys, and now he was being disrespected on national television by some talk show host who probably couldn't do a single push-up. "You want to run that by me again?" Stallone asked, his voice deadly quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm. But Colbert wasn't backing down. If anything, he seemed to be enjoying this. "Look, I get it. You had your moment. Rocky was great. Rambo was fun. But that was what, 40 years ago? Since then, you've just been recycling the same character over and over again. Don't you think it's time to hang up the gloves?" The audience was shifting uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't banter. This wasn't even a tough interview. This was character assassination disguised as comedy. And everyone in that room could feel it. Stallone stood up slowly, and when I say slowly, I mean like a volcano building pressure before it erupts. "You know what, Stephen?" he said, and his voice was so controlled it was actually terrifying. "I came here tonight thinking I was going to have a conversation with a professional. I was wrong." Colbert tried to play it off with a laugh. "Hey, come on, Sly, sit down. I'm just having some fun with you. Can't you take a joke?" And that's when Stallone delivered the line that should have ended Colbert's career right there and then. "A joke is supposed to be funny, Stephen. What you're doing is just sad. A sad little man trying to make himself feel bigger by tearing down people who actually built something." The studio went dead silent. Even the production crew stopped what they were doing. This wasn't part of the script. This wasn't rehearsed banter between host and guest. This was real, raw, and absolutely brutal. Colbert's face went white. For the first time since the interview started, his composure cracked. "Now, wait, just a minute," he stammered. But Stallone wasn't finished. "No, you wait," Stallone shot back, pointing a finger directly at Colbert's face. "I've been in this business for 50 years. 50 years. I've taken hits from critics, from studios, from people who matter, but I'm not going to sit here and let some late-night comedian who peaked doing a fake news show lecture me about relevance." The camera operators were frantically adjusting their angles, trying to capture every second of this meltdown. The audience didn't know whether to cheer, boo, or just sit there in stunned silence. Most chose the latter. Colbert tried to regain control of his own show. Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break, he announced, but his voice was shaky now, uncertain. Don't you dare cut to commercial, Stallone growled. You started this, Stephen. You wanted to embarrass me on your little show? Let's see how this plays out. The producer in the control booth was probably having a heart attack at this point. Live television, no delay, and their biggest guest of the month was about to detonate on their smug host, like a hand grenade in a glass factory. Colbert looked around desperately, probably hoping someone would rescue him from the monster he'd created. But his production team was frozen, the audience was transfixed, and Stallone was just getting started. You think this is funny? Stallone continued, his voice rising now. You think ambushing guests is what makes good television? Let me tell you something about entertainment, Stephen. Real entertainment comes from respect, from understanding that the person sitting across from you has feelings, has a career, has a life beyond whatever cheap shot you want to take. Colbert tried to laugh it off again, that nervous little chuckle hosts use when they're losing control. Sly, please, sit down. Let's just have a normal conversation. Normal? Stallone's eyes were blazing now. You call what you just did normal? You insulted my entire life's work in the first 30 seconds of this interview. That's your idea of normal? The camera caught Colbert swallowing hard. His famous confidence was cracking like ice in spring. Look, I was just trying to ask some tough questions. That's what journalists do. Journalists? Stallone let out a bark of laughter that had zero humor in it. You're not a journalist, Stephen. You're a comedian playing dress-up in a journalist's clothes. And you're not even good at that anymore. That hit Colbert right in the ego. You could see it in his face, the way his mouth twitched, the way his hands gripped his note cards a little tighter. I've been doing this for 20 years, he said, his voice getting defensive. And in 20 years, this is the best you can do? Stallone shot back. Attack a guest for cheap laughs? Make someone feel small so you can feel big? That's not comedy, Stephen. That's bullying. The audience was starting to react now. A few people were actually clapping for Stallone. Others were booing Colbert. The whole carefully controlled environment of a late-night talk show was falling apart in real time. Colbert tried to regain his footing. You know what, Sly? Maybe you're right. Maybe I came on a little strong. But you have to admit, your recent movies haven't exactly been critical darlings. Wrong move. Absolutely the wrong move. Stallone's face went from angry to furious in 0.5 seconds. Critical darlings? You want to talk about critics? Let me tell you something about critics, Stephen. They never created anything. They never put themselves on the line. They never risked everything to tell a story they believed in. They just sit in their little bubbles and tear down people who actually do the work. He was pacing now, moving around the interview area like a caged animal. You know what Rocky was? Rocky was a movie that every studio in Hollywood rejected. They said it was too simple, too predictable, too working class. But I believed in it. I fought for it. And it won 3 Academy Awards and launched a franchise that's still going strong today. Colbert tried to interrupt. But Sly, you have to understand. No, you have to understand. Stallone cut him off, pointing that finger again. I've made 40 movies. Some were hits, some weren't. But every single one of them, I put my heart into. I put my soul into. Can you say the same about this show? Can you say the same about anything you've done? The studio was electric now. This wasn't just an argument anymore. This was a masterclass in how to destroy someone with nothing but truth and passion. Colbert was sweating visibly. Look, this has gotten out of hand. Maybe we should just move on to talking about your new project. Oh, now you want to talk about my new project? Stallone laughed again, and it was even colder than before. After you spent the first 10 minutes of this interview telling me and your entire audience that I'm washed up and irrelevant, now you want to give me a chance to promote something? The host was scrambling, trying to find any way back to solid ground. It's just television, Sly. Entertainment. We're all just trying to entertain people. Entertainment? Stallone's voice dropped to that dangerous whisper again. You call humiliating guests entertainment? You call attacking someone's life work entertainment? Let me tell you what real entertainment is, Stephen. Real entertainment is inspiring people. It's making them feel something. It's giving them characters they can root for, stories they can believe in. He gestured toward the audience. Look at these people. Look at their faces. Do they look entertained? Do they look inspired? Or do they look uncomfortable watching you try to destroy someone for no reason other than your own amusement? Colbert glanced at the audience and immediately wished he hadn't. The faces staring back at him ranged from disappointed to disgusted. His own studio audience was turning against him. The thing is, Stallone continued, his voice getting stronger with every word, I've been where you are, Stephen. I've been the underdog. I've been the guy everyone counted out. But I never, ever used that as an excuse to tear other people down. I used it as motivation to build something better. Colbert was fidgeting with his tie now, a nervous habit that made him look even smaller next to Stallone's commanding presence. Maybe we should take that commercial break now. You keep saying that, Stallone observed, but your cameras are still rolling. Your audience is still here. So why don't you tell them the truth, Stephen? Why don't you tell them why you really brought me on this show? That question hung in the air like smoke from a gunshot. Colbert's face went through about 5 different expressions in 2 seconds. None of them good. The audience leaned forward collectively, sensing that they were about to witness something that would be talked about for years. I don't know what you mean, Colbert stammered, but his voice betrayed him completely. He knew exactly what Stallone meant, and so did everyone else in that studio. Stallone smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had just cornered their prey. Oh, I think you do, Stephen. You brought me here because your ratings are tanking. You brought me here because you needed a big name to save your show. And then you decided to attack me because you thought it would make good television. The truth hit the studio like a lightning bolt. Colbert's ratings had been struggling. Everyone in the industry knew it, but nobody talked about it openly. Until now. That's not true, Colbert protested weakly. But even he didn't sound convinced. Isn't it? Stallone pressed on, relentless now. Your show is hemorrhaging viewers, Stephen. The network is breathing down your neck. So you booked the biggest star you could get, and then you tried to create controversy, because controversy gets clips. Controversy gets social media buzz. Controversy saves dying shows. Colbert was visibly wilting under the assault. His shoulders sagged, his confident posture completely gone. Look, the entertainment business is competitive. Don't lecture me about the entertainment business, Stallone cut him off sharply. I've been in this business since before you knew what a television camera was. I know desperate when I see it. And Stephen, you reek of desperation. The audience was completely silent now, watching this verbal execution with the kind of horrified fascination usually reserved for car crashes. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was educational. This was a master teaching a student about respect, dignity, and what it means to be a professional. Colbert made one last desperate attempt to regain control. You're being very unfair, Sly. I was just doing my job. Your job? Stallone's voice rose to a roar that probably shook the windows. Your job is to make guests feel welcome. Your job is to have interesting conversations. Your job is to entertain people without destroying them. You failed at every single part of your job tonight, Stephen. He took a step closer to Colbert's desk, and the host actually leaned back in his chair. You know what your real problem is? You've forgotten what entertainment is supposed to be about. It's not about making yourself look smart by making others look stupid. It's not about getting cheap laughs at someone else's expense. It's about bringing joy to people's lives. Colbert opened his mouth to respond, but Stallone wasn't finished. I've spent my entire career trying to inspire people. Rocky wasn't just about boxing. It was about never giving up. It was about believing in yourself when nobody else will. Rambo wasn't just about action. It was about what happens to our veterans when they come home. Every movie I've ever made, I tried to put something meaningful into it. His voice softened slightly, but the intensity never wavered. What are you putting into this show, Stephen? What are you giving people besides cynicism and cheap shots? What are you adding to the world? The question hung there like a challenge, and Colbert had no answer. None at all. You sit behind this desk every night, Stallone continued, and you think that makes you important. You think having a platform gives you the right to tear people down. But real power, real influence, comes from building people up, from inspiring them, from making them believe they can be better than they are. Colbert was staring at his hands now, unable to meet Stallone's eyes. The confident late-night host had been completely dismantled, reduced to a shell of himself in front of his own audience. I came here tonight as your guest, Stallone said, his voice deadly quiet again. I came here with respect for you and your show. I was ready to have fun, to tell some stories, to give your audience a good time. Instead, you decided to ambush me with insults and disrespect. He straightened his jacket, a simple gesture that somehow carried enormous dignity. Well, congratulations, Stephen. You got your controversy. You got your viral moment. I hope it was worth it. The studio was so quiet you could hear the hum of the cameras. Every eye was on Stallone as he prepared to deliver the final blow. You know what the difference is between you and me? He asked, looking directly into Colbert's eyes. When I fail, I get back up and try again. When I succeed, I remember where I came from. But you, Stephen, you've become exactly the kind of person that Rocky would have been fighting against." And with that, Sylvester Stallone turned and walked off the set. Not stormed off, not stomped off in anger. He walked off with the measured pace of a man who had said exactly what needed to be said when it needed to be said. The cameras followed him all the way to the exit, capturing every step of what may have been the most dignified departure in television history. Behind him, Stephen Colbert sat frozen at his desk, staring into space, while his audience sat in stunned silence. The show went to commercial eventually, but the damage was done. In less than 15 minutes, one of Hollywood's biggest stars had completely dismantled one of late-night television's most powerful hosts, using nothing but truth, passion, and an unwavering sense of dignity. It was television history in the making, the kind of moment that reminds us why live television will always be dangerous, unpredictable, and absolutely riveting when everything goes wrong in exactly the right way.